is today, it is all about data. Because you are using this WhatsApp, everything. What is doing is producing a vast amount of data. And AIML it is in computer vision, it is in text analytics. Suppose as a broad overview, there is a this rating system. Suppose you like a YouTube, what you say, you are seeing some YouTube channel. What you do, you like it, and you leave some review. Suppose I like it, I dislike it. This is not my relevance. Something like that. Now, like you, every day there have been thousands of review coming. Now, who will read that? Suppose who is in the YouTube, they're not going to read that. So what they will do, they will collect all this data, whatever your review, his review, and they will extract that data and automatically understand what the content is. That is called text analytics. So there have been so many domains actually. So how you are intend to use that one? In medical domain, suppose computer vision is very, very fast. It's for cancer, early cancer detection, for any kind of this skin disease, everything that is coming from some kind of scan report, something like that. Now, on here, where are we standing actually in electricity utility people? So we are not going to learn the, medical domain. So why we use that one? So AIML is huge, huge. And there are everywhere. Suppose in Facebook, Amazon, Google, Microsoft, there have been scores of people working on that. And every day they are trying to do that. So let's see.
You are also the political background.
I work in power domain and I have masters in AIML from UK.
Graduation, sir.
Sorry?
Graduation, sir.
Graduation from University of West Bengal. West Bengal. And normally my subject is offshore wind and water networks and for doing that, there is a huge coding part actually, and it's not very easy to start coding for you guys because
it's only for analysis of data.
Everything.
Regarding approaching the algorithm.
Yes, because there are two things actually: data analytics as well as AI/ML. Earlier it was AI, now ML, and ML is also separately deep learning and all kind of things. So basic thing is that your data, what data you are getting, how to use that one. So suppose in distribution sector, there are certain subdomains. Suppose you want to go for this fault detection. So you have certain data. So how you find out? And what is the purpose of it? Because you want to see how robust your system will be in future. And that if you have some historical data, past data, so how could you use that data in future so that your system will be cautious? So whether there will be fault or something like that. Similarly, suppose this demands. Yeah. And absolutely. Suppose you have certain this distribution sector, suppose smart metering data. So what you are doing, suppose you have hundreds of customers, and only thing you are getting through sensor, it is the time and the usage. Suppose this much kilowatt. So every person only 2 data. Okay. And so start from, and every 24 hours, 7 days a week, 365 days. So these 2 data you are getting. So how we will use those data and how to get that one. And most, suppose this demand side management and all kind of thing. Suppose in your Ola, if you tend to book an Ola, sometimes you will see that, yes, please, rate is very high. So why it is that? This peak load. Yeah, so just like electricity. So they tend to discouraging to the car in the peak demand time. So rate is very high. Why? Because see, their number of cars is same. And it varies peak demand, low demand, off peak. So they have to engage the drivers also throughout the day. Otherwise, if a driver gets only one peak demand, the day doesn't have anyone. Obviously, he won't be interested. So he have to sustain the business. At the same time, he has to satisfy the customer. And of course, you have to see the money. That means the driver is benefited, customer is first benefited, and of course, Ola is getting some profit. Same concept electricity utility also. You are having hundreds of customers. Your load is all of a sudden you cannot say my demand will be 240. Why you will get that load? Because generation is also, they are also having their pros and cons. So why they will give you that much generation? So these are the things, right? So as you understand, it is data analytics or AI/ML. That means it is something like that. In your working way, another domain has come. Suppose what happened when there was no computer, people used to do manual. When computer came, they used to learn the computer and use into their field. Now what happens? Similar to that, one technique has come, that is data analytics and AI/ML. So we have to know how to use that in our field. That is the purpose. So for that, what we need and how we need and what to do, let us have a glance of that. So it is basically for data science, and data science means you need to have some understanding of any language. And in data structure today, there are mostly two prominent languages. Earlier it was R, that is a statistical language, and now it is Python. And how we use that? Fortunately, we don't have to write very fundamental codes because nobody writes these days codes from the scratch because code has gone so advanced. We don't have the luxury of using the coding from the beginning. They are having ready-made code, and AI/ML basically is using minimum code. Only thing, if you have some knowledge of how to use that one, there are so many ready-made code, you take that and use for your own purpose. And even in one case, it is called transfer learning. That means if you have a code used for some purpose, you repurpose that. That is called transfer learning. So, and that's all we come to machine learning and deep learning. So our agenda is distribution, or particularly DER, what we call distribution energy resources, renewables, and little bit idea of big data and what the industry says about it. Now, first thing is that we need to understand data. What are the type of data we have? Anything, if you give a Facebook like, you created data. You are unaware of that. Now, if you work in Facebook, so what you are getting? At every day you are getting millions of data. What you will do with that data? That is the thing, because it is physically impossible to get an extract of that data. I mean, reading or without reading. You don't have the chance or time to go through millions of data. You never do that. But you have to use that data as far as possible. And it is being used for tens of years. And the first use in US in the presidency election of Barack Obama. I think Google used some data for their campaign. So how did that? That they use what kind of voters are there, what is their geographical location, what their preferences are, something like that. So they used to profile from that and tend to see which voters are inclined to whom. something today's in India also, you might have known some people are doing the same kind of thing. That for any political party. So they tend to use the data and try to understand the mood of the voters. And proportionally, they do their, policy or campaigning and whatever it is. So that's the thing. So data, there have been a British mathematician, David Humby, and as per him, he said a few years before, data is the new oil. So if you have data, you use it, you could have millions of that. So in general, what kind of data we have? We have this just a broader outlook. Suppose if you see, we have statistical data, financial data, meteorological data, scientific data, transport data, geographical data, cultural data, whatever we have, all kind of data we have. Now, what is data analytics then? See, in today's scenario, right, so if you see that one from the top right, basically, that's, I think you know PMU, you know, yeah, everybody knows a little bit. Pressure measurement unit, yeah. And then that is SCADA, and that's simulation, social media, smart sensor technologies, weather updates, geographical information system, and traffic updates. So all the things are interconnected and everyone is producing some data. And center, core of that, how to use that data. So when you are getting data from multiple sources, so how you use those data, that is our thing. And we are considering for distribution or renewable energy and how we that. So when we speak about renewable energy particularly, and we know that it is because we have solar or wind and something like that. And of course, it comes into smart grid as well. So this is the central thing of today's topics. So how we can use that data in our domain. And our domain is, suppose, say, distribution domain or something like that. Now, so what is data science? See, data
Hello,
science
sir.
is considered
Hello.
is a set
Hello.
theory introduction.
Hello, sir. Hello.
Yes, please.
Sir, which program language we can use for that, sir?
Which program language?
Is used.
For data
Yes, sir.
analytics, normally used, earlier it was R, nowadays it is Python. And some more languages also come, that is called, suppose, Rust, that is the language, and Julia, it is a language, Rust, R-U-S-T. So these are the language, but mostly very popular it is Python for that.
Can we use, sir, C or C++? Is like that?
I think if you keep your queries in the end, I think it will be easier because I'm keeping on trying to explain.
Okay,
so keep
okay,
on hold all your queries when you finish that. Yeah.
Okay, sir.
So let's see what happens. So basically that means, see, so data science is something that when you have the computer science domain, you have the maths and stat domain, and you have your own domain of work. Suppose in our case, it is distribution or renewable sector. And the intersection of these three, that what is to data science basically. And data analytics is something, again, it is a subset when you are processing the data for a particular purpose. So in our case, suppose power system data analytics. For that purpose, we are doing. So we don't say power system data science. Power system data analytics. Data science, it is the more, total subject which deals of the everything. So we have to have some knowledge of what we understand of these domains. Fortunately or unfortunately, we have to have some understanding of how these domains are used and what best way we can use them. So let's start with the statistics bit. I think everybody are aware of what are the basic properties of statistics. That is two things. That's the measures of central tendency and the dispersion. Suppose you have a number of data. So what you want to do? You want to see what is the central limit theorem. I mean, what at the center, what the data is. That means you want to have average, mean, or you have to have median or mode, something like that. And dispersion is how much the data from the center of the data position are dispersed away. So we have standard deviation, we have standard error, mean deviation, absolute deviation, or in the very beginning, we have a range. Suppose we have a data that starts with minimum and end with maximum.